Okay, we're now here in a field of fodder beet. It's actually a sugar beet variety, but of course we don't have a sugar beet industry anymore. Ironically, it's where we stand about 10 miles in the distance is the old tower of the Carlow sugar factory. This is a crop of my own. It's actually, as I say, the variety Enermax. It's grown for fodder, but it is a sugar beet. Beet this year has had a very tricky start. This crop would have been in the ground 4 weeks last Tuesday. It got its first 3 mil of rain the previous Sunday week, so it was very much struggling to come out of the ground because conditions were so dry. A bit of background to how the beet was established. I've given up sowing beet on drills. Don't think it's a good idea. It can make weed control more tricky. And also I like to roll the beet, which why sow it in a drill if you're going to roll it, even though it can be done. Rolling the ground to me firms it up, reduces slug problems, reduces leather jacket problems, and again retains moisture for establishment. So the crop at the moment is looking, it's as nice a way to view beet as there ever is. There's just a nice bit of rain fell last night, about 3 mil, that the field was crying out for it. When we sowed the beet here, all of the nutrition is basically given to it the previous autumn, as it happened this year. All the P and K is supplied through farmyard manure slurry. The only granular fertiliser we apply to the crop is approximately 100 units an acre of nitrogen through urea, all tilled in at sowing, and then we sow the beet, we roll, we're finished with fertiliser. The crop, as you can see, is at 2 true leaves at this stage. It got its first herbicide application Tuesday because the weed population is coming, and we would have quite an amount in this field of Charlock, which is already some of it at 4 true leaves. We've a very, very dense population of fat hen in the land around here, partly due to the history of growing beet. There's also red shank, there's fumitory, there's pretty much all the problem weeds you'd encounter in beet. Not any mayweeds or thistles, but as I said, knot grass as well, which is another problem. The approach I take is, if we take it very simply from what the standard programme for beet should be, it's 30 grams to the hectare of debut, it's a half a litre of Max Pro at the T1, a half a litre of Enzar, I include a half a kilo of Galtix, and a half a litre of vegetable oil, Super Appease. Terrachem the staff of Terrachem have had a long history through involvement with beet, way back to the days of Interchem and their connection with DuPont being responsible for the debut, the Venzar, and Terrachem also acquire the Bethanol Max Pro. They've had the full range of Bethanol products through the year, through the seasons I should say. The approach I take in growing the beet, mainly partly to reduce the stress that beet can be under at the start, is I split the T1. What that basically means is I go 50% of all those doses I gave you, but you always keep the vegetable oil, the adjuvant, at full rate. You apply the 50% to the beet when it's small. It's irrelevant the size of the beet. If half the field hasn't emerged, no problem, because the size of the beet is irrelevant when you're using a debut programme. It's all about the weeds. You have to get on top of the weeds. So I've come in here last Tuesday, my contractor sprays for me. He's a sprayer dedicated to beet, so there's no risk of residue from a cereal herbicide or any other type of herbicide. We put on the 50% dose. Thankfully we got the rain. If it's dry tomorrow, we may come back with 50% of a dose tomorrow. The hope would be that it would actually rain another bit for the next 2 days, and we'll come in here next Monday with maybe 60% of a dose. That should take out pretty much all the weeds. The advantage is I've now put a little bit more than 100% on. I've extended the level of residual I'm going to get. A few more weeds will come up over the weekend. I'll follow that with a standard T2 in my book of 1.5 Max Pro, 1.5 Galtix, 0.5 of Enzar, and 1.5 litres of the Super Appease oil again. It's a simple approach. It works for the most of fields that are out there, bar you have particular problems like mayweed or maybe thistles or, God forbid, volunteer potatoes. So that's the approach I take. It's splitting the T1, it's applying pretty much all the nutrition through organic fertiliser bar 100 units of nitrogen. There's no boron applied through the fertiliser, it's all sprayed on. We actually do a dedicated nutrient spray post herbicide application, where this land will get full rate manganese, full rate magnesium. The crop in its lifespan will get 3 full rates of boron. The last one will go on with the fungicide, which will be furlong later in the year. But that dedicated spray of nutrition at about the 6-leaf stage, which will also have uplift in it to enhance the yield, that's just to drive growth as far as possible. And I find when you're relying on organic fertiliser so much, what can happen for the first couple of weeks, you may think the beet is a bit slow to get going because you don't have the granular fertiliser, but once the ground warms up, that release of organic nitrogen kicks in and the beet just takes off. And on that kind of a programme, going softly on the herbicide, not to hold the crop back, but drive with the nutrition. Last year we just washed the last of it in early March. We harvested 32 tonne to the acre of washed beet, and that was harvested the 20th of October. There are years we've been 28. In the bad years where we've had the real wet year or a very dry year, it could drop a bit more, but they are thankfully quite few. The aim is always 30 tonne of wash beet.